Alright, so now that that part has dried and around the arms area, I'm going to add a little bit of water. I'm going to take that dark tone again, and then I'm going to just shade in this area here. So notice how the the drier it is, the more crisper the lines are. That's good for some areas, but when you want to blend, colors together, it's best to kind of go wet on wet rather than dry on wet. I'm adding a little bit of shadow over the leaves here. So adding a little bit of shadow around the hair here. Can also add a little bit more darkness around the clavicle as well, just to kind of show the depth. And adding a little bit of shadow underneath the hair. And I also like to add a little bit of darkness around the borders and leave a little bit of light there as well. That's just to kind of give it that nice smooth feel. So I'll show you that up close, what that looks like. So I'm going to take this dark color again. I'm going to just outline the edges a little bit with this tone. And that kind of gives it that nice cylindrical feel. And now I'm going to take a white gel pen, just because I can. I'm going to make a little dot there. And that kind of gives it that nice little shine. So that's the shoulder area, and we have the face area all done. Now let's go ahead and finish the arms. So these arms are just a little bit wet, which is fine. We're going to use our thin brush, remake that tone again. So take a little bit of that 197. Try not to overdo it. Then take the number 71, mix it up a little bit. Add a little bit of this white. And clean your brush every time you try to switch colors, because you don't want other colors mingling with other colors there. So now what we can do, we can add a little bit of this orange just to kind of make it just a tiny bit lighter, because I don't want it to be too dark. So dilute, dab a little bit of color, and then what we can do is we'll start with this one here. Whoa, that's a lot of water. I'll just spread that in down there. I'm going to zoom in. I'm just going to do this arm first. I'm going to just paint in the shadows here around where the hair is. I like to make this area a little bit darker just because this is kind of going in space. And then when it's coming out towards us, I'm going to make it a little bit lighter. I like to also shade in the bottom of the arm at this point. By the way, if your paper gets a little bit too wet, you'll start seeing a little bit of paper flakes kind of coming out. Try to avoid that. Try to avoid oversaturating your paper, and you'll be fine. So I'm kind of making sure that this is all dry right now. And if I want to blend it, I'm going to add a little bit of water, and I'm going to spread this out in the middle. So that's how I like to blend things with watercolor. Then here are the hands. Because her fingers are kind of bending down a little bit, I'm going to add a little bit of shadow around the joints here and the sides. Like so. So it kind of has that nice shadow versus light versus shadow kind of feel. I'm also going to add a little bit of shadow around where the leaves are. And also around the edge of the cylinder, just to give it that nice little bit of edge. So that is the arm pretty much done. So that's what it all looks like. So you can see the comparison between this one that's not colored yet and this one that is fully nicely colored. So now we're just going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to use these same colors here. Take this color. I'm going to just kind of start dabbing in around the flowers here because that would create some shadow. I'm also going to make this lower area around the elbow a little bit darker, kind of blend it in with the arm here. There'll be a shadow on the inner part of the arm because the arm is kind of in front, and usually things that go away from you are in shadow, so be sure to add that. Adding a little bit more darkness here, adding more of my shadow values because I'm running out. So far so good. Now let's do the same thing on the other side here. Let's add shadows around the edges of the fingers. Let's also add a little bit more pigment of orange, just to kind of give it that nice bit of color. Here's the thumb, and now let's add more shadow. So I like to add shadow around the corners of the fingers and kind of like in between here. I also like to add a little bit of, hints of the knuckles. So I'm just going to add a little bit of dots here, just to kind of hint where the knuckles are. And that looks a little bit saturated around the finger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of water and I'm going to just kind of wash it out. There. So that is the skin, all in all. We're pretty much done with that. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Hopefully that this helped the tutorial. And I will see you guys in the next one.